There's exactly 62 days until UFC 317, and there is still no main event. UFC 317 is taking place during International Fight Week. That's supposed to be the biggest pay-per-view of the year. In the beginning of the year, we were so hyped up about this. We thought it was either going to be Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev, a super fight, or John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, another super fight. But the days are closing in, and those two fights seem like they're not happening at all. I mean, there's a very slim chance either of those fights are going to happen. If you look at Ilia Topuria, he's pushing for the Islam Makhachev fight, but Islam Makhachev and his entire team are doing anything possible to not have that fight. They want to fight Paddy Pimblett. They want to fight up a weight division. And Ilia Topuria's on his press tour, going on the Joe Rogan podcast, going on the Patrick Bet-David podcast, trying to push for that fight. He said he's just going to wait and hold out for that fight. But there's no shot that's happening on UFC 317. It's too close. There's not enough preparation. And John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, that fight is not likely going to happen at UFC 317, even if it happens at all, because I think everybody right now kind of agrees that that fight's probably not even ever going to happen. Okay, and if it does happen, you know John Jones wants like a 6-month training camp. He wants to fight at Madison Square Garden. I don't think either of those fights are going to happen. So what fight headlines UFC 317, the biggest card of the year? Well, everyone was talking about Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis, but apparently Dricus is out with an injury. It's kind of official that that fight's not going to happen. So who's going to headline this main event? There's not many champions that are available, but I think there's a couple options, and that's what I want to get into, is how to actually fix this mess and who to headline. So last year at UFC 303, Conor McGregor was supposed to fight Michael Chandler. That fight fell out like a week before that happened. And who does the UFC rely on when they need a short notice fight, a championship title fight on short notice? They usually go to Alex Pereira, and I think that's the biggest fight you can put on the 317 card right now, considering all the fighters that aren't available to fight, especially championship fights. I think the main fight that should be looked at is Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev 2, but I really don't know if that fight's actually going to be booked. I think Alex Pereira might be willing to take it, but listen, last time Magomed Ankalaev got offered a short notice fight, he did not take it, and especially because he's champion now, he doesn't have to be taking this stuff short notice. So that fight has like a 50-50 chance of being booked. We might not get that fight, and then what happens if that fight can't be the headliner of UFC 317? We do not have any more title fights to headline. Islam Makhachev wants to go up a weight division. He's waiting for Bilal versus Jack Della Maddalena. That doesn't give him enough time for a training camp for UFC 317. Ilia Topuria, as we know, he's kind of, ex-vacated champion. He's waiting out for the title shot. So all we have left is really interim title fights. Dricus du Plessis is injured. There's no real big title fights that we can do other than Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. If that fight can't happen, I think you really do the interim title fights. I think the only other chance you have is getting Islam Makhachev to fight, because he does not have a fight booked. He fought in January, but I just don't think he's going to take any of the fights, except maybe Justin Gaethje, but nobody wants to see that fight. And I think the UFC knows that. I think they know that we do not want to see Justin Gaethje versus Islam Makhachev, or even Charles Oliveira, the second fight. That'd be better than a Gaethje fight, but still, I don't think the UFC really wants to make that fight. And the only other option with Islam Makhachev, other than the Ilia Topuria fight, if JDM beats Bilal Muhammad, maybe they could do a quick turnaround, a really quick turnaround, Islam Makhachev going up for the welterweight title. Other than that, we practically have nothing, right? People are talking about the Topuria versus Charles Oliveira interim title fight. I don't think they're going to do an interim title fight, especially when Islam Makhachev fought literally like less than 6 months ago. I don't think they're going to make that interim unless, it's confirmed that Islam Makhachev's moving up. I don't think there'll be an interim. Khamzat Chimaev versus Caio Borralho, that could be an interim title fight, but is it really that entertaining? Like, is that what we're going to have headline UFC 317? I don't think we're that hyped up for that. I'm not that hyped up for that. I mean, Khamzat Chimaev could be interim champion. That would be cool, but we already know Khamzat Chimaev is the number one contender. It's just like a filler fight for DDP. That's the real matchup we want to see. So if Alex Pereira does not step up, or Ankalaev does not step up for this fight, we're not going to have a legitimate undisputed championship title fight for UFC 317. Unless they do some weird stuff with Islam Makhachev, maybe do a weird matchup like Justin Gaethje versus Makhachev, I think we're going to have interim title fights. I think that's what UFC 317 is going to be. I think it's going to be Khamzat Chimaev versus Caio Borralho, and probably Topuria fighting on there. But I don't know, because Topuria is holding off for the undisputed title. So I don't think we're even going to get Topuria fighting in the summer. I don't think that fight's actually going to happen. But if I had to put this fight together right now, I think the thing that makes the most sense is Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev 2 for the headliner, Khamzat Chimaev versus Caio Borralho for the interim middleweight belt for the co-main event. And then the rest, you can just have some big names on the card to make it a good card. But it's still kind of a letdown because of what we were expecting in the beginning of 2025. It's a huge letdown for me. I was expecting Topuria versus Makhachev or Tom Aspinall versus John Jones. None of those fights are happening. Not even Khamzat Chimaev versus DDP is happening. And the UFC is having a really bad start to the year. Like, this is the worst year I've ever experienced as a UFC fan. I started watching in 2018. This is the worst year for a UFC fan out of all those years so far. If you compare the first half of 2025 to the first half of 2024, I mean, 2024 blows 2025 out of the water. It's not even close. The fights we're getting and the fights that we were expecting that aren't happening is making this year seem like a dud. Like, seriously. Ilia Topuria was coming off the Max Holloway win. Islam Makhachev was going to fight Arman Tsarukyan and probably move up. Tom Aspinall maybe fight John Jones, or at least just fight for an undisputed title. That's still not announced. We have nothing announced. All the other fights have been, DDP versus Sean Strickland, which it should have been Khamzat Chimaev in the first place. Makhachev taking on a short notice fight. Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev was probably the most hyped title fight we had this year. And the fight itself was not as exciting as the matchup seemed. UFC 314 has honestly been the best card of the year. And the next title fight we have is Bilal Muhammad versus JDM, with a women's title fight in the co-main. And then we have Sean O'Malley versus Merab. No one wants that fight. UFC 317 has no headliner. Like, this year is honestly really disappointing. But let me know who you guys think is going to headline this. I really have no clue. I know a lot of people are trying to put together cards for this. I'm kind of expecting a weird title fight or a weird interim fight that we're not expecting. I don't think they're just going to put Khamzat Chimaev versus Caio Borralho on the main event. That does not seem right to me. I think it's going to be something with Islam Makhachev, to be honest. I think we might get some Islam Makhachev versus Justin Gaethje bullshit. And it's going to be justified by the fact that, there's no other title fights to make. And Islam Makhachev is going to get another bullshit, just like the Dustin Poirier one. Dustin Poirier did not deserve that title fight. So he's fighting, his last 3 fights would have been Dustin Poirier, Moicano, and Justin Gaethje. And people are over here talking about Ilia Topuria is not a justifiable contender. Yet those are his last 3 opponents if he fights Justin Gaethje.